Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I hope you're enjoying the videos coming forward for these series regarding the Jews and the Christians, quote unquote. And right now we're going to continue on with the series on understanding what the Quran refers to as an-Nasara. So I would watch part 1 just to get a good idea of how he reached the conclusion that an-Nasara are people that are partisans. Now, when you look at the verses that are mentioned in the Quran, we're going to look at each one where Nasara are mentioned. We see that the very first mention of an-Nasara, just like the very first mention of alladhina hadu, is what? It is for a promise of paradise. Indeed, those who believed and those who are الَّذِينَ هَادُوا وَالنَّصَارَى وَالصَّابِئُونَ, those who believed in Allah on the last day and did righteousness, they will have their reward with their Lord. So there's one problem in this verse, because if you're a Muslim Sunni or Shia, you have to believe that paradise is perennial. It's basically for more than one religion. You can't use the excuse that these are people before the Prophet Muhammad, because these people exist still. It wouldn't be fair if Jews and Christians now are not valid anymore, but they were in the past, according to the Quran's standards. Okay? This is the same issue that Christians have with the salvation of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, because all of the people before Jesus Christ's existence would have much easier way of getting to paradise or heaven, because they didn't have to worry about believing in something as self-refuting as the resurrection of Jesus, the Son of God. Astaghfirullah. So when you look at this verse, clearly an-Nasara doesn't constitute a novel religion. Very much the opposite. These religions, these ideals have always existed at least since the time of Ibrahim. Okay? So, alladhina hadu and an-Nasara and as-Sabi'un are mentioned alongside alladhina aminu, those who have confided or believed in their Lord. Okay? So when you look at Hudan or Nasara, alright? And they say, none will enter paradise except one who is a Hudan or Nasara. That is their wishful thinking. Say, produce your proof if you should be truthful. You'll see a lot of these verses are the same in the second part of the series on the Jews. And basically that's because these are twin schools of thought, approaches to life that have a common origin. Okay? So they think that their way is the only way, and the Hudan think that their way is the only way. Okay? Then we have al-Yahud and an-Nasara. Alright? So an-Nasara is distinguished from al-Yahud simply because al-Yahud is never seen as a positive trait or title in the Quran, whereas an-Nasara is more neutral. Right? They are believers from an-Nasara. They have their starting point in that culture, and they attain paradise as well. Al-Yahud say that Nasara have nothing to stand on. The Nasara say that Yahud have nothing to stand on. Okay? Although they recite the book, they precede the book. Thus the mushrikeen, alladhina ashraku, speak the same as their speech. Allah will judge between them on the day of resurrection concerning that over which they used to differ. It's not a very good warning when Allah has to tell you He will judge between you. That means He will tell you how you're wrong. Okay, and it's not going to be a very nice place in the end. So again, al-Yahud and al-Nasara, they have mirror opposite yet somewhat similar approaches in their error. Okay? Again, in the next verse we see Bihudan or Nasara. Okay? Where is it? 113 to 120, right? So it says, and never, or the Hudan or the Nasara approve of you until you follow their, what? Millet. I already mentioned in the series about the Jews that millet is singular in this verse. So that means that Yahud, al-Yahud and al-Nasara have an established common millet, common creed, a common, logic or rationality or creed or belief or religion that they are both branched from, right? So if you were to follow their desires after what has come to you of knowledge, you would have against Allah no what? Wali or Nasir. So you notice that Wali, this is related to Awliya, Mawla, okay? I believe it's related to inheritance as well, because this is the word that Zakaria uses, who will inherit me, right? Once I am gone. So Al-Yahud are very much concerned with the life of this world and basically wealth. Okay, that's their main approach to life. Where what we see for the Nasara is they're already in a state usually of, lower standard of living. So what they prioritize is their bloodline, their family network, their support, right? And this is something that Ibrahim really is tested with, his leaving his father and their gods because what they worshipped, right? And then that's why we see that Ibrahim is not a Yahud or a Nasara. He's not a Hudan or Nasaran. We follow the religion of Ibrahim, Millat Ibrahim Hanifan, and he was not of the polytheists. So again, Al-Mushrikeen contrasted with Nasara, Hanifan contrasted with Hudan. It's almost like Millat Ibrahim is just taking the good parts from this to its original function that they have innovated or they have basically thrown away in the garbage. Or they have maybe added other gods to this religion that was there since time immemorial. Okay? So, or do you say that Ibrahim and Ismail and Ishaq and Ya'qub and the Asbat were Jews or Christians? Were they Hudan or Nasara? No. Are you more knowing, or is Allah? And who is more unjust than one who conceals a testimony he has from Allah, and Allah is not unaware of what you do? There are many Muslims today that have the unfortunate understanding that these people were Jews, okay? That Jesus was a Jew. Nothing could be further from the truth. This concept of a Jewish religion, or even a Christian religion, has no validity according to the language of the Qur'anic history. Ibrahim, Ismail, Ishaq, Ya'qub, all of these people predate the Torah. Okay? Musa, Isa's followers are called Muslims, by the way. They're not called Yahud or Nasara. And of course, this definition of Muslim doesn't have any relationship to what the sects of Islam are today, because they all vary on that, and they use other guidance other than this book to define who they are. Musa, however, his followers, aslamu, they submitted, they yielded to the Torah. Okay? الَّذِينَ أَسْلَمُوا لِلَّذِينَ هَادُوا. I'm going to explain more of what that means. Okay? Alright, so Ibrahim was neither a Yahudi or a Nasrani. Now we get to a more kind of specific verse of the Nasara. So indeed, those who say, قالوا إنا نحن إن نصارى الذين قالوا إن نصارى, right? We took their covenant, but they forgot a portion of that which they were reminded. So we caused among them animosity and hatred until the day of resurrection. This is the same language, al-adawata wal-baghdha, that's used for the Yahud, and it's also used for Ibrahim's people, because that's their ancestral cultural stream, common cultural stream. Something to keep in mind too is we see mainly in the Quran that the day of the Qiyamah, they call Day of the Resurrection, doesn't have this word until. What it actually has is ila, toward. Okay, toward the day of the resurrection. We'll have to discuss that in another video. It's not until. So, like I said in the other video with the Yahud and the Nasara say, we are the children of Allah and His beloved. Say, then why does He punish you for your sins, for your crimes? Rather, you're just human beings from those He has created. He forgives whom He wills and He punishes whom He wills. And to Allah belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth and whatever is between them, and to Him is the final destination. Okay? The Yahud and Nasara. So basically, the Nasara are manufacturing something. Okay? And this is related to the Yahud as well. And notice that the mushrikeen, the polytheistic shirk people, they tend to invent lies. Okay? And this is just part and parcel with the lie of having gods or lords or patrons or something alongside Allah as your master, as your ilah, as your deity, right? Something you serve besides Him, even though all the service is supposed to go towards Him. And then we go to Yahud and Nasara. O you who have believed, do not take the Yahud and Nasara as allies, as patrons. They are patrons or allies of one another. Whoever allies to them among you, he is one of them. That's how you know if you are a Yahud or Nasara outside of Millat Ibrahim, because you are actually a supporter or a patron of these people. Allah does not guide al-qawm al-zalimin, the oppressive people. Right? A couple more here, so you get the idea. It's very self-explanatory. Those who believed and those who were alladina hadu and sabi'un and nasara. Notice it says wa here. It doesn't say ow. Those who believed in Allah and the last day, coupled with doing acts of reconciliation, righteous acts, no fear will they be concerning them, nor will they grieve. This is a reward of paradise. Okay? Clearly this cannot be the case if these are separate religions. Clearly not. Now here's a very interesting verse that we sort of almost covered in the second video on Yahud. It says, you will surely find the most intense of the people, extreme in animosity, al-adawata, okay, toward the believers. Alladina aminu. Al-Yahud, okay, Al-Yahud walladina ashraku. The Yahud and those who have associated or incorporated with Allah. Alright? Who have incorporated, basically, the mushrikeen, alladina ashraku. I will tell you what that actually refers to, but that's a quality, and al-Yahud is an identity. And you will find the nearest of them, وَلِتَجِدَنَّ أَقْرَبَهُمْ mawaddata. That's how you know mawadda is contrasted with adawata, right? Enmity and mawadda, affection, right? So the closest in affection to alladina amanu, the believers, those who believed, are who? Alladina qalu inna nasara. Why? Why are these people? And notice this is a category of people I'm going to talk about in the next part. Or perhaps I think after the next part, inshallah. He didn't use the word an-nasara here. He didn't use the word nasara. He used the word قالوا إن الذين قالوا إن نصارى. When you have the word الذين there, that's referring to some kind of a trait, okay? Whereas when you have a definite article that's specific, that's referring to an identity, right? So those who say we are Nasara, that is because, this is the reason why. This doesn't mean you go around befriending. It's just saying that these ones are closest in mawadda. That's all it's saying. It doesn't mean they are your allies. It doesn't mean that they are your eternal enemies, okay? Because remember, there are believers in all of these groups. This is just a fact of the Quran. So let's look at what this refers to. Why are they closest to الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, the ones who believed? Well, because from them are قِسِيسِينَ and رُهْبَانًا. And they are not يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ, arrogant. All of these criteria have to be filled for those people to be closest in affection to the believers. Okay? I will get into that qisisin doesn't mean priest, and ruhban definitely doesn't mean monks. That's been interpolated there to just provide this smokescreen of this word meaning Christians. And then it continues, وَإِذَا سَمِعُوا مَا أُنزِلَ إِلَى الرَّسُولِ. So when they listen, what has been revealed, what has been sent down rather, to the messenger, you see their springs overflowing with tears. Okay? الدمع. For what they recognized from the truth. What they know from the truth. Recognized. And what's interesting about this, they say, رَبَّنَا آمَنَّا فَاكْتُبْنَا مَعَ شَاهِدِينَ. I'm going to show you that shahideen is one of the ways that these people enter paradise. So what happens, brothers and sisters, is that on this straight path, everybody who is being guided gradually toward the Qur'an, toward Allah, toward the last day, toward the straight path, they are purifying their intentions, they are purifying their beliefs, they are purifying their actions, they're increasing in knowledge, they are gaining a status in the world to prepare them for something in the future that can only come from one type of people. Diverse types, but one basic united form of people. This is what the Ummah represents. Okay? And basically, what you see on the screen here is the ultimate path of these particular people that are in this continuum of, that's I call the Nasara continuum. So they are evolving and growing and growing. And obviously it goes both ways. They can increase in misguidance to become oppressive, to become criminals. But on the opposite, they are kind of being filtered out of this large, massive swath of people to become purified, eventually to enter the middle nation. Okay, a just nation. That is what is going on, and I'll elaborate more about that. It's very interesting when you just use these verses carefully. Now let's get into the final verses. So basically, what we see here is that the Yahud say Uzair is the son of Allah, and the Nasara say Al-Masih ibn Allah. What's very interesting about this is that we don't see Al-Masih ibn Maryam ibn Allah. We just see Al-Masih ibn Allah. This is a different person entirely because it's a lie. There is no Masih who is descended from God. Astaghfirullah. This is a lie, exactly like the Yahud have for a person called Uzair. Now, it's anyone's guess who that is, but clearly we are just assuming this word means Jesus Christ. Okay? Jesus Christ's name is Al-Masih ibn Maryam. And I'm going to show you that in the very next verse. We've already gone through this. Just watch part 2 of the Qur'anic idea of Jews. They have taken who? أحبارهم ورهبانهم. So in part 3 of the Jew series, I'm going to talk about extensively who these people are, Ahbara, and what their purpose in this world is. And in also part 3, the next part of this series, I'm going to talk about وَرُهْبَانَهُمْ. Who are these people for the Nasara? That's why they're in this order, Yahud and Nasara. أحبارهم ورهبانهم. Inshallah. So they take these people as lords besides Allah. And look, Al-Masih ibn Maryam. Here, you know this is talking about Isa, because that is his title. That is his identifier. Al-Masih ibn Maryam. Okay? We don't have the full story of Isa at the moment, but it's something way more profound, because remember, this individual, this amazing messenger of God, he is assigned to An-Nas. He is assigned to mankind. Okay? He is assigned to the sentient, mortal creatures of the world. And what we see is there are these kinds of titles that we'll have to talk more about, that vary between key pivotal moments of all of these messengers. You have Ahmad and you have Muhammad. You have Al-Masih ibn Maryam. Then you have Isa, Al-Masih ibn Maryam, Al-Masih Isa ibn Maryam. You have Ibrahim spelled a certain way in Surah Al-Baqarah, and then you have Ibrahim spelled a certain way outside of Surah Al-Baqarah. Okay, so you just have to compare the stories of these names with these specific titles. And they were not commanded except to serve one God. Okay? So some of them served no God. They served a false god. And then some of them served multiple false gods alongside the one God, claiming that they were serving the one God. Every single Christian, just as an example, every single Christian will tell you, and Muslims understand this very well, Sunnis and Shias understand this very well, and basically what happens is every Christian will tell you they are a monotheist tradition. Okay? And nothing could be further from the truth, because there's more than one God. Everyone can see that. There's at least 3 gods in Christianity. In Judaism, it's a bit more complex. They're not even allowed to mention the name of God in rabbinical Judaism. Okay? In Sunni Islam, we have a lot of names. And just watch my video on the 99 names of Allah. A lot of them don't even belong to Allah. So what are these names then that people call upon? Okay, that they memorize so they can attain Jannah. There is a lot going on here at the moment in our world today. لا إله إلا هو سبحانه عما يشركون. Right? They want to extinguish Nur Allah with their mouths. Okay? Now, the very last verse about Nasara is the final one. Interesting, they're introduced with الَّذِينَ هَادُوا as a possibility of attaining paradise. It is possible for people born in these respective cultures, with no injustice done to them, but through their actions, through their, observance of Allah being the only true deity worthy of worship, worthy of service, they are allowed to attain this reward. So it makes so much sense that the last verse is going to include these groups. الَّذِينَ هَادُوا وَالصَّابِئِينَ. So you have إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَالَّذِينَ هَادُوا وَالصَّابِئِينَ وَالنَّصَارَى وَالْمَجُوسِ وَالَّذِينَ أَشْرَكُوا. So now there's 6 in there, right? Allah will judge between them on يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. Indeed, Allah is over all things shaheed. Okay? So what you notice is that there is no promise of paradise here, because these people are not necessarily, especially al-majus and al-ladina ashraku. These people are, not in a good position on the last day. Something I want to make clear too is inna alladhina amanu. We're going to have to talk about that in a separate video, but basically they are related to an-Nasara the most, right? That's why Allah says the closest to them is an-Nasara. So of course, as-sabi'in, it's only logical they would be associated closely to alladhina hadu. And you can find them in the Quran. I'm going to show you, inshallah, once I have that slide ready. But basically what you see here is this, where it says these first 4, which are mentioned 4 times in the Quran, there are actually different orders of these names, of these groups. And that is significant because Allah is trying to show you how they are all connected to each other. And that's going to be reserved for part 3 of this series on the Christians and the Jews, quote unquote. And I hope you liked this presentation. I know it was a bit shorter, but that's only because an-nasara is mentioned in one encompassing title. So with that, peace.